You know, I guess I'll talk about homelessness. I've spoken about it before, but I'll talk about like a real, very simple, viable fucking solution, right? That wouldn't require much of anything except for people to be allowed to fucking have a place to lay their head, right? The resources are abundant everywhere. I mean, there's people poor in places like Africa and Jamaica that have basically nothing, but you know what they do have? They have a home of some sort. They have a shanty house, or they have a mud or straw hut. Where they have a bed. They probably got a table and some chairs in there. Maybe their bed is made out of fabric and straw or whatever, but they've got a bed. Maybe they built the roof out of sticks and branches and leaves and mud, but they've got a roof, you know? And people in the most wealthy nations in the world can't even have a place to lay their head where they're not harassed and pushed around and chased away. Could you imagine how frickin' easily in Western nations, if people were just allowed to park somewhere, allowed to build something? I mean, I could go, if I had a piece of land or something, right? I could take a saw and some tools, man, and I could build a cabin. I could put up 12-volt lights. I could set up a fireplace. I mean, people lived for centuries, for thousands of years, allegedly, with in huts that they, put together themselves with a fire pit in the middle of the room and some candles or little, tenders that they would burn for light. And they lived for, thousands of years like this. Right? But we can't do that. We've got to have we could do so much better than that so easily if we weren't constantly being starved and chased off the king's land, basically. You know? You know how many people there are probably like living in a car or in a fucking tent somewhere right now? In some beat up old car or tent or under a tarp in the woods somewhere that started out, when they started out, they were in like a 35-foot RV or something, you know? But then that got taken from them because they weren't allowed to park it on the side of the road, or they weren't allowed to park it in an empty spot in the woods. So they got towed, and they lost everything. And then maybe they went out and they worked and they got another camper, and then that got taken from them. And they got a tent, and they tried sleeping out in a tent, and then one day someone come along and cut their tent up and took that away and threw it in a trash bin. So they had to go try and get another tent, or they move under a tarp or a piece of cardboard, because everything they have just keeps getting stolen and they just keep getting chased away everywhere they try to sleep. That's what's going on, man. Homelessness is not. You want to say people they're lazy and they're drug addicts and they're losers and blah blah whatever, man. If you try to build like a housing development somewhere, for instance, say you're super rich, you spend millions of dollars to buy some land to build a housing development, and you come to find out that there's groundhogs or spotted owl or something living there, right? Guess what? building permit denied, can't build shit. So we treat animals with more courtesy and more decency than we treat human beings. You understand? And it's sick. Why? I mean, if you let the poor people build something, let people live somewhere, for God's sakes, man. Let a person keep their freaking RV if they have an RV. Let them live there and leave them the hell alone. Let a person build a freaking shanty house or a cabin in the woods. You know? But no. You gotta get a job. You gotta do this. You gotta be part of our. You know? Why is it required to, like, be an indentured servant in order to have to keep trading pieces of paper forever and ever? To live the vast majority of our lives doing shit we don't want to do, working for people, you know, instead of working for ourselves. Why can't you build a cabin, grow a garden, you know, live like a free human being used to live back in the day when that was a thing? How come? I mean, they mess with the people that in tribes and stuff too. The tribes would be getting screwed over, but there's some tribes still out there, and they basically leave them alone for the most part. I mean, some of them. So why can't they leave the rest of us the fuck alone? We all used to be tribal. Everyone used to be tribal, basically. We all used to live in villages and huts and whatever. We built cabins and castles and all kinds of different things. People lived, you know. If you didn't have money, you gathered supplies, you built a cabin, you tilled up the soil and you planted a garden, you know? Why can't we do that? Why not? Why do we got to do this shit? Sell ourselves for little scraps of paper that are likely headed in a trajectory of being freaking worthless. Where's the value in that? What are you selling? You're selling yourself. You're selling your life, your time, your energy. You could be learning real skills. You could be... It's just... It's like everything natural and good that exists without... Like... There's no reason for this shit, man. And if there ever was, well, it's like once you built a house and planted a garden, you don't have to keep going around and tearing the house down over and over and ripping up all your plants by the roots to plant them over again, you know, because it's already been built, it's already been tilled, it's already been planted. You know, life is sustaining basically by itself with somewhat, I mean, there's effort obviously, but you know, give it time. And I mean, what amazes me is we live in a world where everyone seems to pretends that they care and they love their children and all this sort of thing, but we're creating a society and a world that's going to be horrible for those children. Those children are going to have to live in absolute utter degradation and slavery and just misery, because people just go on and perpetuate a system that's corrupting and destructive. Why can't we build things to sustain life instead of destroying it? Stop chasing the impoverished. Stop forcing them to be without a home. There's no reason for it. No reason for it. Even somebody that's strung out on drugs or something, living under a tarp on the street, if you just left that person the heck alone and let them have a spot, like you'd probably see them before too long. They'd be living in a barracks tent or a yurt, or they'd have built a cabin and a fence around it and had a garden out front. You know, if you just leave them the hell alone, let you know, live and let live, man. Let people, I mean, you see a freaking, groundhog digging a hole somewhere. Like, it's just, why must people be chased away and destroyed? But you're gonna stop like a building project because a groundhog or a squirrel has a nest there, or there's birds habitat in the trees there, so you can't get down the trees. And yet, human beings are mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, cousins. You gotta chase them away. Our neighbors, other human beings. You gotta chase them away. Every time they try to find a place to sleep, you gotta just chase them around, knock on their door, bang on it, yell at them, push them around, shove them out of the way, steal their stuff and burn it, haul it to the garbage. It's filthy. Well, I wonder, Yeah, there's okay. I can see why. I mean, they make you fucking hate each other. They make you hate homeless people because you go around and while they're pretending to help, the but you see this, as a normal person, you go around, you see all this garbage piled up in the park, and you see these trashy looking like plastic and old beat up tents and people sleeping on the ground, fucking. And you think, oh, these scum, they're making everything mess. Well, why the fuck don't you notice there's not any garbage cans around for them to throw trash away? So yeah, there's fucking trash there. People shitting on the streets because they have nowhere that they have no bathroom. I mean, how difficult do you think it would be for them if they wanted to dig a hole and put up an outhouse somewhere, if they were just left the heck alone and you didn't have to chase them around from place to place all the time, right? You think they couldn't create some kind of sink, create better shelters that aren't fucking tents and trashy looking stuff? They could, if you just leave them the fuck alone. Let them live. Let them build something. Every time you talk about a fucking the world's overpopulated, you could fit probably the entire population of the earth in like Texas or something. There's vast amounts of resources, but for some reason we just gotta the resources are all just being used to build and cultivate things that lead to our destruction. I don't know why the hell people don't see this. Why you can't. It's just sad, man. Homelessness could be there. Even if you don't even ignoring the fact that there are entire towns that are empty and full of houses and empty hospitals and school buildings and empty libraries and empty hotels and houses just you ever look on like YouTube at like all these videos of people exploring abandoned mansions? Do you know how many of those abandoned mansions there are all over the place? There's there's shit like there's a city in like Africa or something that had I don't remember the right number, so I'm gonna lean toward a low number, um, because I'm not sure if it was a half a million, if it was big enough for a half a million, or if it was a half a billion. There's a city that was built in Africa that's completely empty, basically, with housing and everything built for, like, let's say a half a billion people, in a place where there's a bunch of people living in abject poverty. Oh, but they can't fucking live there. There's houses, mansions, schools, hospital, everything. It's just right there, just sitting there. And a lot of it's not even for sale. It's just sitting there. Years, enough years go by, the freaking, roof will probably start leaking, cave in, because it's just abandoned. There's all kinds of places like big mansions that people want to sell them for like millions and millions of dollars, but nobody could afford to buy it or pay the damn taxes on it. So those mansions are just gonna sit there probably for years and years, or maybe forever, just empty until the roof starts to leak and walls start to mold, you know? And we got people living in their fucking cars and living under tarps and things, having to shit on the sidewalk because they don't have a bathroom, having to dump trash all over the place because there's nowhere to put their fucking trash. Filthy and stinking because they got no way to stay. They don't even have a place to take a shower or wash their hands. I mean, it's just mind blowing, and people don't see this, or they don't care. You could end homelessness tomorrow, any number of ways. You could just let people live and build something, or let them live in their damn campers or something and leave them the fuck alone. Or hell, they could just move into a bunch of empty mansions that will never be sold because nobody can afford to live in them. They're just, with nobody living in them, the fucking roof is just gonna start leaking and the place will fucking fall apart. 50 or 100 years, there'll just be a bunch of empty places that are windows busted out and everything ripped apart. And but we can't do that. Can't do anything about all the fucking homeless people. Now somebody's gotta sit and wait to try and get millions of dollars out of somebody, which then that person's gonna just end up having to try to sell it after that because nobody can afford to pay the $65,000 or $80,000, $100,000 fucking tax bill. you know Oh, but no, we can't give a shit about homelessness at all. We'll just leave all these entire neighborhoods of houses and every other thing you could possibly imagine. We'll just leave that shit sitting there empty with nobody living in it, while a bunch of people fucking freeze their ass off under a bridge somewhere because we have such loving, caring people that really care about us, right? It's fucking sad. I mean, that's probably got to be one of the most messed up things I see about this world is the so-called help. The charity organizations, and how little they do with what they have, the resources they have. It's like, AA with like a upper 90% fucking failure rate. touted as the best thing for quitting drugs and alcohol or whatever, right? They got fucking billions of dollars, offices all over the fucking world. They do jack shit to try to ban the fucking, you know. And then you got like all these super wealthy churches all over the country, but they can't donate some fucking land or let anyone have a place to sleep. They want to get you to come in and donate money and, oh, we've got a food box. We got millions and millions of dollars, but look, we've got a box where you can bring canned food in. We'll hand some out to some. Isn't that nice of us? No, I mean, it is nice that they have that stuff, but I'm just saying it's so small, like the level of help that's actually provided for people. And from these groups, could you imagine like one of these super massive churches, like all with the millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, some of them probably. There's pastors fucking, oh, I need another several $100 million so I can, because God said that He wanted me to have a bigger private jet with a swimming pool. Right? These pastors living in giant mansions, flying around private jets and stuff. Praise the Lord. While they just step over the homeless people fucking sleeping on the street. Right? They have these little charity organizations. You ever see how those fucking commercials come on TV? You can help a starving child, and they show you these kids like emaciated and sickly looking in some African village or something. Send your money. We'll help these, Can you imagine how many like billions of dollars they've raised over the years? Well, that's weird. How come those kids are still living in fucking straw huts? Don't have clean water to drink or food to eat. It's almost as if the charity organizations are full of crap. Almost as if, right? Gee, it's almost like they don't care about us. There's all these organizations, man, all over the country and all over the world. These charities. Oh, we're gonna save everyone. Help. Like some of these groups, organizations, are so massive and so wealthy that they could end starvation. They could end homelessness in the blink of an eye, basically. But they just keep putting out ads. Send us your money. We'll buy a sandwich for this kid in Africa. Ridiculous. While they live in their fucking mansions, driving Jags and Bentleys and shit. Sit on their golden toilet. Just sickening. All right.